Billy, thank you so much for spending a few minutes with me. Congratulations on playing this iconic Shakespeare character in
Yeah.
Sisters Grimm. Tell me a little bit about Puck.
Well, I probably know, well, starting the show, I probably knew as much as what everyone else did, just that he was in Midsummer Night's Dream. And there's a lot of history. There's a lot of history to be had, but I think sometimes it's great to, you go on Google, there's tons of information about him. But what I really enjoyed about this was that it was a 12-year-old Puck. He chooses to be 12 and then he just starts to go into this, the Ferryport Landing, and he's there with loads of other characters from the Grimm tales, and I thought that that was really, really great. And just to see him be a bit of a trickster, a bit of a prankster, which is what we basically know Puck to be. But then as time goes on, he starts to have a great relationship and friendship with the two girls, and that was what it was a great journey for him as well in the show.
So, how fun was it for you to be able to explore that character really from the ground up instead of kind of already coming in with the preconceptions of like maybe seeing it on a stage play, seeing it in a film, seeing it in another medium?
Yeah, like I've seen it being British and going to the theatre. The Tempest is on, A Midsummer Night's Dream is on all the time, and I've done it. I've actually done it myself. I did it at drama school, so it was, as I said, it was. As an actor, you love to have all this information at your disposal, but it's like, okay, I've got to make it my own. And I think what was great was that I think as I realized that I wasn't as far from the character as I thought I would be. I was like, okay, I'm 30 years old, I'm playing a 12-year-old, but it just meant that I just channeled my younger self. It was just I've been that kid. I've been that silly prankster kid at school, so um I then started to realize, oh, it's actually well casted because this was how I was when I was 12.
Yeah, it's really well done. It's funny because like you mentioned, because when I think of Puck, I think of really the Midsummer Night's Dream that they did at the it was a London production that did in 2019. It
Yeah, it was
started
at
like
The Bridge Theatre, I think it was.
yes, that one. It's like it was like music. It was fun. It's iconic, and I think what I'm trying to say to get to is I think it's great that the Sisters Grimm is introducing children to some of these characters and some of these stories that as they grow become a little bit more important because I think they're fun. I think they're creative, and I think they should live on. So, how do you think Sisters Grimm does in
Mm.
really continuing the tradition of these classic stories?
Yeah, well, it was very easy when I read the script to relate to the storyline. Once we're in Ferryport Landing, we're seeing all of these characters. And I think the one thing that's interesting is that we all are familiar with these stories. We probably think they're Disney, but they're the Grimm tales. And and then you're seeing them all merge together, and it's like you've got Snow White, Red Riding Hood, you've got all this together, and I really like that. I think that's really cool. So yeah, it brings something for the kids. It also brings something for the adults. There's a little bit of nostalgia there, and I think that these stories clearly work because we keep redoing them. Maybe that's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing, but they all have a really cool message. Like, Red Riding Hood is a wolf in sheep's clothing, and that's a famous saying that we use, and it has like a meaning to it. And I think that that's what's great. And then what is cool is that the girls are investigating in this, and I remember being a kid and being curious and investigatory, and that was what was really fun about being a kid. So I think that's if kids aren't doing that at home, or if they're not doing that at school, to watch that and to be like, oh, these girls are, going off and having their own little world of imagination and stuff. And, I worry about kids with phones and laptops and, just being in front of the screens, that actually it's really cool just to get out in the world and have a little explore.
No, I think you hit it right there because I was thinking about like, what makes these stories so special, and I think it's that just the thought of exploration and imagination, and I think sometimes with these things, it's a little too real, and
Yeah.
things are a little too competitive as far as like likes and popularity, and I think that sometimes we just need to go on our journey. I think that's what Sisters Grimm does very well. Where do you think you related most with Puck?
I think the silliness. I think I don't ever realize how silly I can be. and goofy and geeky and whatever. And I think that's one thing that I'm learning in later life. Maybe in my 20s I was a little bit too serious. But as I'm getting older, I'm like, oh no, I want to be, young at heart. And there's nothing better than that. There's nothing better than being able to just, I guess we get paid for it as actors, but just to be in a room and to like scream and shout, like, and to feel like a kid again. Um, that's kind of priceless because we get told as we get older, behave yourself, you can't do that anymore. You're too old for that. It's like, well, not really. So it was great to channel that.
Yeah, always that's one of my favorite things about actors and getting chat with you guys is getting to know about your experiences and other people's skins and other times and ages. So that's great. Billy, thank you so much for a few minutes of your time.
Thanks.
Congratulations on the role and on the series, and hopefully we'll be sparking imaginations very soon.
Great. Cheers.
Take care.